Hey guys, in this video I'm gonna rate AI's Leopard Gecko care guide. So let's see how that goes. I'm gonna read off the script that it sent me to do for the video, and then I'm gonna rate it at the end. So let's just get into it. Hey everyone, today we're talking about owning a leopard gecko. Leopard geckos are a great choice for all kinds of reptile lovers, as they are relatively easy to care for and can live up to 20 years in the right setup. So let's get started. First, you'll need to buy an enclosure for your new little friend. Generally, the bigger the better. 10 to 20 gallons is recommended tank size. You can also go with a terrarium if you're looking to add some foliage and climbing decorations. Whatever tank you choose, make sure it has a secure lid so that your gecko does not escape or get injured. You'll want to add some decorations and climbing structures inside the new enclosure. Leopard geckos love to climb and explore, so providing them with different places to perch and hide is key. Silk plants and decorations are a great choice. They look nice and they're not hard to clean. You'll also need to provide proper substrate for your gecko. The ideal substrate mix is a sand and peat moss, which is easy to dig in and keep moist. It's important to keep the substrate moist so that your gecko can keep their skin healthy. Be careful not to make it too wet. Excess moisture can cause respiratory problems, so you may want to consider using sources of heat with thermostats like ceramic heat emitters to keep the humidity down. Another important factor for a healthy leopard gecko is a proper lighting and diet, and provide your gecko with full spectrum fluorescent bulb for their enclosure so that they can receive the much needed UVB rays for their diet. Leopard geckos eat crickets or insects as well as commercially available canned foods. Finally, it's important to make sure your gecko gets physical interaction as well. Although they are low maintenance pets, they need attention like any other pet. Offer your gecko food using tongs and gently pick them up a few times a week so that they become used to being handled. Taking these steps will ensure that your leopard gecko is a healthy and content pet for many years to come. Thank you for watching, and I hope you found this information helpful. Okay, so a lot of that was good, like what they generally eat, except for commercially available canned foods. I would never suggest feeding your leopard gecko any canned food, because they are purely insectivores and they will only like to eat, and it's only healthy for them to have live insects. So never feed them canned foods. That's just a no-no. If you have a crested gecko, that's a different story, but not for leopard geckos. The tank size, it said 10 to 20 gallon. 10, definitely not. 20 gallon at the bare minimum, but I would definitely suggest bigger than a 20 gallon for a full-grown leopard gecko. If it's a baby, you can keep it in a 10 gallon, but only for a period of time until they get bigger. I look at some of the other stuff. So it says they live up to 20 years. I don't think they generally live up that long. Maybe like 15, 16, 17. I'm sure there has been some that got up to 20, but I'm pretty sure that's not normal. It's saying have foliage, climbing decorations. That's good. It was talking about like silk and things. That's good. But if you want to have a bioactive, obviously you don't want silk, you want real plants because it's bioactive, so it's real plants. The substrate, it says the ideal substrate is a mix of sand and peat moss, which is easy to dig and keep moist. I have actually never heard of peat moss. My ideal substrate for leopard geckos are, it's just sand and potting soil. So just play sand, potting soil. It's hard to go really wrong. Um, that's about it for that. I Peat moss is probably fine. I'll need to look up that. I'll put it on the screen if it seems fine. I'm sure it's probably fine, but I've just never heard of it. It was saying that when it's too wet, it can cause respiratory infections. That is good. I think it'd be kind of hard to get any like open air, not like open air, but like with screen on top of it. I I think it'd be kind of hard to get that too humid unless you live in like a really like humid area. I mean, I guess it could, but it's pretty unlikely. And it kind of made it sound like it was optional to have a heating implement. You definitely have to have heating. I have a deep heat projector that is my favorite. Um, it works really well. Heat lamps, ceramic heat emitters, those are both good. Heating pads, if you're doing a straight up bare minimum like paper towel tank. But if you're basically doing any substrate, it'd be kind of hard to do a heat mat because of the substrate blocking the temperature and have to get really hot, and that could like start burning things like whatever it's laying on, and that could be bad. So maybe just stick with like a lamp unless it's like the beginning and it's just in a paper towel bottomed enclosure. It was talking about UVB. UVB is, I mean, it wouldn't hurt, but for leopard geckos, it's not necessary. I do calcium with D3 in it. That's perfectly good enough for any leopard gecko. If you have a bearded dragon, you definitely need UVB. Like, it's not optional for a bearded dragon because it will get a bone disease. I can't remember off the top of my head what it's called, um, but it's where its bones like completely deform and their legs are like sticking out in odd angles. It's not good. So for bearded dragons, you definitely have to have it, but for leopard geckos, it's definitely optional. You don't need it, but it's not definitely not going to hurt it if you want to put it in there. So I think most of the points that it said are pretty good. Um, the only things that I think definitely count against it is the canned food. Leopard geckos cannot have canned food at all. The tank size, not that good. And like saying that the lighting was optional. Like, I mean, heating is optional. It's not optional. You definitely need to have heating for leopard geckos. So I think I'm going to rate this like, I'm going to go 4 out of 10 because like most of it was good, but the stuff that was bad is definitely pretty bad. Like, you definitely cannot keep a full-grown leopard gecko in a 10-gallon. That's just not good. Canned food, definitely also not good. You cannot feed it canned food. And then optional heating, you definitely need heating. So I'm going to give it a 4 out of 10 for that. But basically everything else was really good. So if it took out the optional heating, it took out the canned food, and the tank size was better, it would be pretty good, honestly, for an AI. It's definitely better than I expected. It just needs to fine-tune its points. So overall, it was better than I thought. I'm going to be doing more AI videos soon, talking about how it could help the care of reptiles, and if it's something that could be used in the future to maybe help teach people how to care for reptiles. From this so far, it's definitely not quite there yet, but this just was a script writer on a captions app that I have. If you want me to try something better like ChatGPT, I could try that in the future if you want. If you want me to, put it in the comments. I think that's all for today. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.